Hey, howdy, hello, everybody. Welcome back into T1A Tier 1 Ascension. I'm your host, Tank. I got my Twitter handle down there, at Tankopotamus76. This week we've got Week 13 waivers. It's our second to last week regular season for a lot of leagues for fantasy. So I think with that, we should get into it. Alrighty, like I said, Week 13 waivers. We're getting there. It feels like it goes so fast when we finally get here and get going through the weeks, and now we're getting to the regular season end. So hopefully you're in a position to get in or squeak in or win your way in. But if not, maybe some of these guys can help. First one up on our waiver board, Jordan Mason. Elijah Mitchell, we've heard that he's back on IR now. Another knee injury, a MCL sprain, I believe. And CMC is dealing with some knee irritation. So he's kind of day-to-day. I think they're going to still limit his workload and try to preserve him for the playoffs. And this week, they're going to be going against the Dolphins. Next week, they're against Tampa. So they're going to try to get up, get ahead, and control that clock. And keep moving that ball and use these running backs to punch it in and do whatever they can to control that game and utilize that great defense they've got going on right now. With Jordan Mason, I think the TDP, Tyrion Davis Price, is also going to be a likely playable flex if he's activated. Last I knew he's on the practice squad. But he could be elevated with Elijah Mitchell going out. So it could be somebody that's, down there in your waivers. Jordan Mason is rostered in 29% of sleeper leagues right now. So definitely somebody that should be out there for you. Just a reminder, like, subscribe, click the notifications. Let us know what we got going on. Make a comment. Make us feel good. Give us some love. We could always use it this time of year, right? All right, next up on our list, Zonovan Knight. Bam! 103 total yards, 3 receptions. A guy that definitely Mike and I were talking about in the offseason, post-draft, deep in just like roster grabs. Somebody that was way down there as a undrafted free agent that made a squad. Even with Breece Hall there, even with Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, they kept him. They kept him on the practice squad. They just kept him around because he's got a little bit of something, and he got to show that. Now, with Michael Carter having an ankle injury that's kind of up in the air, I don't think the diagnosis has really come out whether he's going to miss a whole bunch of time or he's going to be limited. So Zonovan can play a role. They've even come out and had James Robinson as a healthy scratch. There was no injury designation when he went out. So it really sounds like the Jets are trying to find that formula that's going to get them that push. They've got a winning record. They've got a chance to go to the playoffs. Now they're trying to find some tools that's really going to make this thing pop, especially all the way through the rest of the season. So with Ty Johnson being a counterpart to Zonovan, before Michael Carter comes back, this could be some of those things that are just happening right now. And these guys could be somebody to grab and get you through the playoffs for fantasy football. Right now, Zonovan's rostered in 5% of sleeper leagues. But we're just going to go ahead and stay with the Jets here. We're going to go with Mike White as well. He came out and had another big first game of the season. The first game he played last year, he had 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was a little dicey after that. But it looks like he might have matured a little bit too. He's definitely got a lot more support from the Jets locker room. A lot of guys congratulating him, very, encouraging. So, but is this going to be the permanent spark for the Jets? And that's going to be the question. He might be somebody that they write out. He's known to be, a volatile passer, which in the playoffs could give you 20, 25 points, or he can give you 6. But having that high upside is somebody that you want to be able to roster, and I think that could work out great. Right now, he's rostered in 49% of sleeper leagues, so might be a little bit thin out there on being able to grab him, but still worth a shot if you can. All right, another QB here, Jordan Love. Aaron Rodgers could play next week. I haven't really seen any news on him, whether it's a punctured lung, strained oblique, fractured ribs. And he's already come out, Aaron Rodgers has already come out and said that he really wants to play if they're mathematically in this, which, he's probably crunching numbers at home. If we win here, go in there and do all this stuff. But it could come down to he just can't play, or he gets re-injured next week, takes a shot, and he's going to be done. So it's going to be good now to grab Jordan Love and see what's going to happen. It was a no-pressure situation. They're down by 2+ scores. They came in and got right to it and threw a touchdown. Christian Watson, explosive player. That's what they needed. They just needed some spark. They needed somebody to just drive the ball into receivers' hands. And unfortunately, with Aaron's thumb, Aaron's rib, whatever's going on there, he just couldn't put that zip on the ball that he needed. You'd see him throw it hard, and then he'd grimace. So it's just not that he can't do it. It's just he's injured. It just made Jordan Love look that much better coming in through 9 attempts. He had 113 yards and a touchdown. And it really looks like he's making progress through his reads. Good zip on the ball. The ball looks nice, crisp spiral. We'll see what happens with him. Right now, Jordan Love's rostered in 57% of leagues. Benny Snell. All right. This is kind of a fun one here. Got Jaylen Warren, who's out on a hamstring injury last week, so he could be back. Might not. Najee Harris has an ab strain. Might be out. Might not be. Anthony McFarland definitely doesn't look like he's the back to help fill in. I'm going to guess, go back to the practice squad. And Benny Snell will definitely be in a committee, if Jaylen Warren's still nursing a little bit of hamstring, if Najee's playing, but they're still, nursing his injury. So he still can receive a not a workhorse role, but a workload. So even with what he had 12 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown. On most things, that's 12 points. And he had a reception, so 13. Not a bad week, especially for a flex player. So it's somebody that you can grab and see what happens, especially as we're getting into these playoff weeks for fantasy football. You're going to need those guys that can rotate in because injuries are going to happen. Trades aren't available anymore. Benny Snell, rostered in 13% of sleeper leagues. Definitely somebody we can look at. All right, we have another player coming in from Mike. I was telling him my waivers this week, and he wanted me to include some Jawan Jennings. But he looked good. I mean, he's been involved in the offense all year, 3-4 catches here and there, a couple targets. But it looks like, going into this next week, they're playing the Dolphins. They're going to need to pass. This last week, Jennings saw as many targets as Debo. Debo it seemed like he was a little off just a touch. And Debo could be used a little bit more in the running game coming up for the next couple weeks with CMC out, with Elijah Mitchell out. They don't want to fully rely on having 2 rookie running backs do all the rushing. So Debo could likely hit some carries in the backfield, which will open up a little more passing attempts for Jennings and Ayuk and possibly Kittle. He did great last week. He caught 6 of 7 targets for 49 yards and a touchdown. He was able to finish wide receiver 19, so he was a wide receiver 2 in his finish last week. So somebody to keep an eye on, somebody to put on your roster, stash down there. Right now, he's rostered in 35% of sleeper leagues. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on. All right, let's spend some money. So Jordan Mason, putting on about $10. He's a rookie this year. He's going to have continued value being in that San Francisco offense. We just don't know what they're going to do with Elijah Mitchell. I mean, he's played very few games this year. He spent almost the whole year on injured reserve, but we've seen that before. We've seen Jeff Wilson Jr. do this. We've seen Raheem Mostert. And then the next year he comes back, he starts running, they let him play. So we will see what happens with Elijah Mitchell next year. But for now, Jordan Mason, TDP. TDP, I wouldn't spend anymore, a couple dollars. He's pretty much been living on the practice squad, so not really worth investing a whole lot, a couple dollars maybe, if he's in free agency waivers for you. Zonovan, Bam Knight, definitely going to put down $6. $5, $6, 10 if you're in a really like running back heavy league. He is somebody that can catch a few passes. He's not super dynamic in the receiving game, but he's going to be very strong in the running game for them, which is something that they need to be able to rely on. Ty Johnson can actually do the receiving work too. So how they play with these guys, especially with Michael Carter when he comes back, I think Zonovan Knight could be that first, second down rusher. Michael Carter being that third down back. So he could be somebody that stretches down the back of the half this season, really giving you a lot of value. Mike White, $12 to $20. 2 QB league, you're definitely going to need quarterbacks. Not only do you want him on your roster, but you don't want him on other people's rosters. This gets to be that time of season where if you've got fab and you can keep a player off of somebody you're playing against roster, you need to do that. I know it sounds kind of dirty, but you need to do that because if he's on your bench, he can't score against you. So get him. Just like I said earlier, he's got some high volatility. He can go off and get 200-300 passing yards and some touchdowns and really kind of wreak havoc in somebody's QB2 spot or super flex. So definitely pick him up if you can. Don't blow all of your fab budget on him. We've got a few weeks left to go, so don't get too excited, but still worth a good pickup. Same with Jordan Love, $5 to $18. If you're in a dynasty league, these are a couple guys. They're still young. They're still could be part of the offense. Packers really haven't taken on another quarterback, and I think that's kind of something that we can watch. If Aaron Rodgers goes out, who are they bringing in or bringing up? Is it going to be Matt Flynn, or if they're going to go with some older vet that really doesn't have it anymore but knows the system, and just keep Jordan Love in the rotation. Benny Snell, definitely one of the lower players out there. I think we already know that Najee is the back, and Warren is going to be his backup and or like spell back, getting some receiving work here and there. So once those guys are healthy, Snell's role is going to go back to being mostly just special teams. So don't invest too heavy in him. Just look for him to be available in this next week or two, and his workload will probably taper off. So if you're needing a spot start for the last 2 weeks of waivers here, could be a guy that you're looking at. Juwan Jennings, he's just a player that we need to keep our eye on because the offense in San Francisco is starting to roll. So he's a guy that you're going to put on your bench, pick him up, and see what's going to happen. Week 13 could be another good week for him, and then we'll see how it plays out in Tampa. But right now, playing against the Dolphins, they're big-time scorers, big play scorers, so there could be a opportunity, especially in the first half, where they're trying to keep up or put up points so that the second half they can really rely on the defense to control Miami. But a lot of things are pointing to that they're going to have to run a more pass-heavy offense. So $6, I might even throw 10 on him, just depending on how your wide receiver room is looking. But definitely worth a guy to stash for now. We got a couple easy ones this week, bye weeks. We only got 2. We've got the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. So everybody with Kyler, DeAndre Hopkins, Connor, DJ Moore. Yeah, that's about it. All those guys are just going to be out this week, and it's not hurting us as much. We've got a big week next week, so we'll definitely be covering that. I might even go and do another video later this week just to cover all those bye weeks, because that's going to be a lot of players, a lot of important players, and in a very important week. So I think that's all I've got for you today. With that, have a great one.